I locked the cabin door that night. I remember it clearly. So when the handle started slowly turning from the outside, I knew someone was trying to get in. You know that feeling when you lock a door and immediately doubt yourself? Like, did I actually lock it? It's stupid. You go back, check, it's locked, and you forget about it. But that night, I checked twice. I even pulled the handle a little harder than necessary, just to hear that solid click again, and the door was locked, still. The handle moved slowly, like someone outside was testing it, not pushing, not knocking, just turning it. It was supposed to be a normal weekend. Me, Alicia, and her boyfriend Marco rented a small cabin by a lake, middle of nowhere. Pine forest? Bad signal. One of those places where everything feels quiet, in a good way. Too quiet, maybe. The kind of silence that makes every small sound feel closer than it is. The owner left the key under the mat. Everything you need is inside. That's what the message said. I even laughed at it. Friday night was perfect. We drank wine on the porch, listened to the lake, watched the trees move in the wind. Nothing felt wrong. No strange sounds. No lights in the distance. Just darkness and water. Saturday was the same. Swimming, coffee outside. Alicia fell asleep in the sun like always. Marco went to bed around midnight. I stayed up a bit longer, reading, listening to the water, just quiet. The kind of quiet where you start noticing your own breathing. Around 2 a.m., I went to the kitchen just to get water. That's when I saw it. Through the window, above the sink, by the lake, a shape standing at the edge of the water, still facing the cabin. Too straight to be a tree, too still to be a person just passing by. I told myself it was nothing, a tree, a shadow, anything. I turned off the light to see better. The shape moved. Just one step, slow, deliberate, and then it stopped again, like it knew I was looking. I stood there for minutes. Didn't move, didn't breathe. The thing didn't move again, just stood there watching. That distance didn't feel safe anymore. I didn't run, I just walked back to the bedroom, closed the door quietly, lay down, and stared at the ceiling until morning, listening for footsteps on the porch, or something brushing against the walls. Morning came. Everything looked normal. Sunlight, lake, silence, too normal. Like nothing had ever been there. I told Alicia. She laughed. Probably a fisherman. Yeah, sure. At 2 in the morning, standing still, no light, watching the house. And then I saw it on the porch. Right in front of the door. The key, not under the mat, not where we left it, just lying there, like someone had been holding it and put it back. The metal looked slightly damp, like it had been outside all night. Our key, the same one that had been hanging inside the kitchen the entire night. I checked immediately. The hook was empty. Marco said maybe he went outside, but he couldn't, remember? And his shorts didn't even have pockets. I remembered that clearly, because he complained about it. Earlier we didn't argue, didn't discuss. We just packed and left faster than we planned. A day later, the owner messaged, "Hope you enjoyed your stay." I didn't reply. I checked the reviews later. I don't know why. I wish I hadn't. One said, "Beautiful place. At night you can hear footsteps around the cabin. Probably animals." The owner replied, "Raccoons." Another one, "We found a key under the porch that didn't belong to us." I read that twice, closed the page, and never opened it again. But I couldn't stop thinking about how many keys there actually were. But this is the part I still think about. The part I can't explain. That night, I know I locked the door. I remember it. So when the handle started turning, slowly, from the outside, That means one thing. Someone had the key and decided not to use it. Every night, at exactly 3:14 a.m., the same door was open. Not forced, not broken, just open, like someone had unlocked it carefully and left it that way on purpose. I worked night security at an empty summer camp during the off-season. No kids, no staff, just a few wooden cabins, a dining hall, and miles of dark forest surrounding everything. My job was simple. Drive the perimeter on a quad, check the locks, log the time, repeat. The first couple of weeks were completely normal, quiet, predictable, almost boring. The kind of job where you start counting minutes instead of hours. Then it started, every night. During my second round, always around 3 a.m., the dining hall door would be wide open. I'd close it, check the lock, log it, and move on. The next night. Same thing, same door, same time, always. At 3:14. Not 3:10, not 3:20. Exactly 3:14. I mentioned it to Eli, the day guard. He didn't even hesitate. Loose hinges, wind, he said, like he'd said it before. Too quickly, too casually. And honestly, I wanted to believe that. Old building, winter air, pressure changes. It made sense. So for about a week, I kept doing the same thing. Close the door, log it, ignore it. I stopped writing full notes after a while. Just door open again. Until one night. I didn't. That night, I stopped at the dining hall and actually went inside. I left the quad running outside, headlights pointing straight at the entrance. Just in case. The place was huge. Long rows of tables, chairs stacked along the walls, a kitchen behind metal doors at the back. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sliding across wood, metal. Empty space. Dust floated in the air, visible in the beam. Nothing, no movement, no sound, just that cold, stale smell. Old buildings. Have. Too still. I was already turning to leave, and that's when I saw the window. 4 photos were taped to the inside of the glass, perfectly aligned. All of them showed the yard outside. Same angle, same spot. 3 were empty. In the 4th one, it was me, sitting on the quad, back turned, completely unaware. The headlights in the photo matched the ones outside, meaning it had been taken minutes ago. I stepped closer and lifted the flashlight to the photo. You could clearly see my watch. 3:14. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I just stood there thinking one thing. Someone stood exactly where I was standing, in the dark, watching me outside, taking those pictures, close enough to see the time on my wrist, and then came back and taped them to the window for me to find. I left after that. Didn't check the rest of the buildings. Didn't finish the shift. I got on the quad, drove straight to the front gate, and sat there with the headlights on until morning. Didn't turn them off once. Every time I thought about the dining hall, I felt like something was still inside it, waiting. The manager came the next day, looked at the photos, barely reacted. Probably local kids, he said. They sneak in sometimes, like it was nothing. He took them down, promised cameras, told me not to worry. I quit 4 days later. Couldn't shake the feeling that the place wasn't empty when it was supposed to be. But there's one detail I never told anyone. Those photos weren't printed on the same paper. Different thickness, different shades of white. One of them was slightly bent at the corner. Older. They weren't made at once. They were printed at different times, days apart. Maybe weeks, which means whoever did it kept coming back. More than once, maybe even before. I started working there. Eli called me a week later, asked why I left. I said personal reasons. He paused, then said, "You found something in the dining hall, didn't you?" I didn't answer. Then he said, "They left me something too. Last winter, a piece of paper with my license plate number on it. A number no one should have seen at night, not from inside the camp." And then he hung up. We never spoke again. I knocked on my neighbor's door. He opened it, looked straight at me, and said, "I know. The problem is, he had already been dead for weeks. This last one isn't about a place. It's about a person, and how long you can convince yourself you just mixed up the dates." I was 24, living in an old apartment building in the city center. You know the type: thin walls, strange smells in the elevator, every floor feeling a little different. The kind of building where you hear footsteps at night and never really question whose they are. Across from my door, there was one apartment, always closed, always silent, no light under the door, no shadows moving. I didn't think about it for months. A guy from the second floor, Johnny, told me an old man named Pavel lived there. Quiet, kept to himself. Normal neighbor, he said, so I stopped paying attention. Until one night, I smelled something. It was around midnight. I stepped out of the elevator, and the hallway smelled like frying onions, warm, domestic, like someone was cooking dinner, fresh, not old, not lingering. But there was no sound, no pan, no TV, no voices, just the smell, and silence. Too complete. It happened again, a week later. Same time, same smell. Strong enough that it felt like it was coming through the walls. That's when I made a mistake. I walked up to the door and knocked. The sound echoed down the hallway louder than it should have. Nothing. I waited, maybe 10 seconds, long enough to feel stupid. Then I turned to leave, and the door opened. Just a little no sound from the lock. Inside was darkness, not just lights off darkness. It was thick, like the hallway light couldn't even enter, like something inside was swallowing it. And in that darkness, there was a face, an old man, thin, pale, just standing there, looking at me. Too still. Not surprised, not confused, just watching. I said, "Sorry, I'm your neighbor. Just wanted to introduce myself." My voice sounded wrong in that hallway. He stayed quiet for a few seconds, didn't blink. Then he said, very calmly, "I know," and closed the door. Softly, like he didn't want to disturb anything behind him. I stood there longer than I should have, listening, but nothing came from inside. Then went back inside and told myself it was nothing, just a strange old man. The next day, I told Johnny. He laughed it off. "That's Pavel. He does that too easily." So I forgot about it for a while. About a month later, Johnny knocked on my door again. He looked different, quieter. He said, "Hey, just so you know, Pavel passed away." I asked when. He said, "About 3 weeks ago." I didn't react at first. Then I did the math. 3 weeks ago was before the night he opened the door for me. I told Johnny. He just looked at me and said, "Maybe you mixed up the dates, maybe." But I tried to remember that night, tried to place it, what I did before, what I did after, and I couldn't. No messages, no calls, nothing to prove when it happened. Like that night didn't connect to anything else, just that memory, that door, that darkness, and the way he looked at me. I moved out 2 months later. Officially, the rent went up, but that wasn't the real reason. I stopped sleeping properly after that. Every time I heard a door open in the hallway, I thought it might be his. What stayed with me was how he said it. Not hello, not who is it, just, "I know." Like he had been expecting me, like he already knew I would knock. Johnny texted me later, said new people had moved into that apartment. A young couple, Normal neighbors, he said. I didn't ask anything else, but sometimes I think about it, about that door opening again, for someone else. About the smell coming back, late at night, and maybe this time Mitt doesn't stop at the hallway, and maybe this time they don't leave. Which one of these stories got to you the most? And have you ever had a moment where something just felt off?